That's good. Very, very excited. I mean, you guys are one of those brands that some people know you're there, but a lot of people don't have an opportunity to actually try you guys out because you have such high repeat guest ratio, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's gonna be very, very very interesting to introduce you guys to a lot of our guests that some of them might have sailed with you guys in the past. Some of them maybe are just want to learn about it so that they can eventually sail with you guys. So that's really good.
Yeah, it will be fun to see what kind of comes out of this. So you're doing exactly what we would wish other organizations would do, and that's actively out there, try to connect us with your consumers and make that make it happen. So kudos to you.
Good, good. Well, Steve, when you're down here in Fort Lauderdale, if you do have some extra time, we'd love for you to come by and see us at our office if you have time.
Well, yeah, as you know, I think we discussed this in August, but I'm working on a more permanent move down there. So I think once that happens, you'll be tired of me, actually.
That's right. All right.
Can't wait to see your beautiful new offices I've heard so much about.
Yeah, it's now official. We signed the agreement. So
actually, both Carlos as well, because they just built a new office.
Oh.
I was talking about it was about 5 years in the making, right?
Our office? Yeah, at least.
Wow. Maybe a little more than 5 years. Yeah, I heard it's gorgeous.
It is. It really is beautiful. We're extremely happy. So absolutely. All right. So let's start welcoming some of our guests that are just joining today. We have some Luxury Cruise Connections advisors that are joining the presentation, obviously, both to learn more about the product and also to interact with our guests that are joining us today. Those that are just joining us, I want to welcome you guys to today's virtual event with Windstar, and we very much look forward to a very interesting and very nice open conversation and educational event today. We are going to allow for a few more minutes for some more guests to join, and right around 3-ish, a little past 3, we'll get started with some good information here. Who's gonna get started first, Steve or Melissa?
I think it's me, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa's here as my sidekick, and if I start saying something wrong, she's going to start poking me under the table. And Melissa's the one that's really out enjoying the beach today, I think, actually. So.
Yep, see, got the beach right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see a familiar face there. Albie, I just want to shout out to Albie. I know he's just recently got off the Star Breeze, the Windstar Star Breeze in the Caribbean. He's shaking his head. Yeah, great trip. Right. Yes.
Thank you again, by the way.
It was our pleasure to have you aboard.
Yeah, and I'll be on Tuesday. I'll be gave the entire team a good refresher of what the Windstar experience is all about, so that our team is very much prepared to also answer questions from our guests today.
So there you go. Actually, it's not Melissa or I. Actually, it's Albie that will be doing the presentation.
Well, he certainly had the most recent experience of all of us on a Windstar ship, so he'll join and participate, right, Albie?
I think Steve has him beat.
If I'm in charge of the meeting, we're giving away a lot of OBC though. So.
Yeah, actually, Carlos, I just literally got off the Star Legend on Friday of last week, actually.
Who did?
Myself, yes.
Oh, okay, great. That's great. How was it?
I was on the Star Breeze as well in June, and it's really great to see our ships back in operation. And there's so many things that I could say about it, but and Albie, I'm assuming you're going to agree here, but you know, the enthusiasm that you see among the crew members, because they have not been working, they haven't had guests for a while, you know, if they've been on the ships, it's been an empty ship, and so they've got such excitement about the return to cruising and, you know, seeing guests on board that the service just is like 10 times more just because of that dynamic, I think.
Oh, I love Laura's background. Hi, Laura.
Melissa, you must be scrolling or something. Oh yes, there's Laura's background. Laura is riding a drone, it seems to be.
I'm over the ship.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, how about yourself?
I'm good. I can't see who that is. Is that Stephen?
That's me, yeah.
Hi, Stephen.
How are you?
Great. Another great supporter of Windstar.
There you go. Well, it's a good cruise line. How can I not be, right?
I agree.
Yeah, I would hope you would.
Oh, now
There you are. I love your background. Look at that. All the sport. Is that sports memorabilia?
Oh, me? Yeah. Various things in the background, autographed shirts and all that. Yeah.
Oh, a nice collection.
Yeah. Mostly, I have Florida Mall and stuff in front of the computer, but behind me are the Boston and Massachusetts stuff.
Yeah, I like your name, Stephen. That's easy for me to remember.
I would hope so, Steve. And I just want to say hi to my guest, Pam. Hi, Pam.
Pam is a great supporter of Luxury Cruise Connections.
Yeah, she is.
All right. So let's see. Let's kind of get a little bit of the ball rolling. So first of all, welcome everybody that is joining us today. You know, today we have a Windstar virtual event. It's going to be an incredible couple hours, or at least an hour of full of information and a lot of education about Windstar, what Windstar is all about, you know, what the brand stands for, and most importantly, what the experience on Windstar is. Very much looking forward to learning a lot from Steve and from Melissa and from everybody else that is hopefully going to join and pitch in. We are going to have a short presentation, then followed by some Q&A and some other good stuff. And hopefully we'll get started in the next couple of minutes. It's 3:02 Eastern. We'll allow for at least 2 more minutes to, you know, as everybody else keeps chiming in. We have 34 attendees, including ourselves. And very soon we will get started. If you all have any question that you might have throughout the presentation, please make sure you go into the chat area of this Zoom call and type it there. So I'm going to go myself real quick and just do type your questions here. And so this way we can keep track of every single one of the questions you might have, and we will then make sure to answer each one of them. You will also be approached individually by some of our Luxury Cruise Connections advisors if you have any particular questions, something that is a lot more specific to a case of yours or something like that. So we might handle those kind of individually. But then all general questions, please type in there for everybody to read them, and then we'll read all the questions and then get to the answers at the end. We will also give an opportunity to kind of unmute whoever wants to ask a question live, and then we have Steve and Melissa here from Windstar to answer those questions. I'm going to let Steve and Melissa introduce themselves, but I did want to make sure that everybody was aware that you will recognize a Luxury Cruise Connections advisor that has joined this Zoom event because they have a dash Luxury Cruise Connections next to their name. And then Melissa and Steve have a dash Windstar Cruises next to their name. and then everybody else is going to say guest. There you go. So I'm going to spotlight Steve and Melissa right now, and then allow for them to get started. Just 1 second. Spotlight Melissa. Spotlight Steve. I'm going to spotlight myself as well.
That's great, Carlos, because I'm in Seattle at the moment, and we're back to our sort of dreary winter days here. So any kind of light is always appreciated.
That's a good one. So hopefully when you move to Miami, you won't have to complain too much about that. There's a lot of light here. Anyway, let's get the ball rolling.
All right. Hi everyone. I believe I just shared my screen, so hopefully you'll see that.
Yep.
But, I will get the actual slideshow from the beginning. There we go. All right. So I am, as you heard, Steve Sumau. I'm based in Seattle, and I am the Vice President of Sales at Windstar. I have been with Windstar for the last 6 years and head up all of our sales team. And before that, I was in the industry working for another cruise line, which actually owned Windstar Cruises at the time. So it's actually a company that I'm quite familiar with. And I'm joined by a wonderful colleague of mine, Melissa, who is also here. She is based actually in Florida, along with Luxury Cruise Connection. And Melissa, I'll let you just briefly say a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into the presentation.
Thank you, Steve. So yes, I'm Melissa Nessenson, and I reside in the Treasure Coast of Florida, over in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And it's just a pleasure to be here. And I absolutely love our friends at Luxury Cruise Connections. They're some of the first people that I met when I joined the Windstar team a little over 5 years ago. And we have just a great relationship. They're very supportive, great customer service, and they just really treat the Windstar guests, really, really well. So we just love them, and we're really glad to be here. And nice to see you all. And hopefully one day we'll all get to cruise together on a Windstar yacht. Wouldn't that be even better? But it's nice to be virtually with you today.
Absolutely. And I want to officially thank you, Steve and Melissa, for joining us today and just putting aside a few minutes of the day to share with us and our guests all this information that we're going to learn. I know I have some questions, and I know some of our guests have a lot of questions, and we want to make sure that we cover as much as we can. I am Carlos Hedry. I'm the CEO of Luxury Cruise Connections. And I'm here because I strongly believe in sharing information with our clients and holding true to our values as a company to make travel dreams come true. And we believe that giving our guests an opportunity to make the right choice and educated decisions in terms of how to spend their vacation time is extremely important. That's why we do this. And also because we have a great relationship with Windstar. I want to make sure that you all get to learn everything that Windstar has to offer. It's a very unique product, and nobody else better than themselves to share with us everything that we want to know about them. So take it away.
Well, great, Carlos. And I was really surprised when you said that we had 8 hours today to talk to your guests and your clients, but that's really appreciative that you're giving us that much time. And I forgot to mention, you may have heard it if you joined late, but I was actually on the Star Legend last week as well, sailing in Europe. So cruising is back. We actually do have all of our ships are now back sort of in Windstar's hands, and 5 of the 6 ships are actually sailing with guests at the moment. So we are sort of actively out there. Cruising is back. I'm going to sort of breeze through these slides because we don't have 8 hours, unfortunately. Salespeople, when you start talking about something they love, we can just go on and on, but maybe that's what the Q&A for is, to allow us to keep chatting. But I like to sort of start out with some destination images. Windstar Cruises, although we're certainly also known for our small ships, one of the things that we are most known for is our ability to help you check off destinations on your bucket list. I'm assuming that all of you have these sort of desired places that you want to see in the world. And if you take a look at our itineraries, you'll see that Windstar spends a lot of time in port. We have a lot of overnights, late night stays. We really get into these places that are sort of off the beaten path, if you will, the the smaller harbors that the big ships can't get into. You typically look at one of our itineraries and you'll see probably of the, say, 7 ports, 3 of them are marquee ports that you've heard of, that you've always wanted to travel to. And then there's probably a couple on there that you probably say, why would they even go there? What is that place? But I will tell you that most likely it is that particular place that we're going to that will end up being your favorite. It's these authentic places that we get to. And like just last week when I was on the Star Legend in Greece, we went to a place called, I thought it was called Chania, but I learned from the Greeks they call it Hania. It's on the island of Crete. It was the most picturesque little hidden harbor. I went and found some local Greek pizza and just really enjoyed myself. So these sort of destination-driven experiences, and that's why I started out with a slide that says we're for travelers, not tourists. If you are someone that really wants to see the globe, that's what Windstar Cruises is all about. And no one goes so close to get you so close to that destination. As I mentioned, it is really about getting you up close and personal with the destinations that we visit. And that ranges from the shore excursions that we offer, many of which are just very small groups, unique experiences. I remember when I was on the Star Pride a couple of years ago, I was in Costa Rica, and I love chocolate. Melissa can attest to that. So I went on a chocolate tour, and I realized about 5 minutes into the tour that the gentleman giving me the tour of this chocolate farm wasn't a hired tour guide. He was the owner of the chocolate farm, and he was talking about how it was a family-run business. And again, by the end of that tour, I really felt like I had gotten to really connect with not only a chocolate farm, but I met someone from Costa Rica, and I understood about his culture and his family values. And it's about taking you in that different direction to get you into these destinations far more than anyone else can. And so my slides are going in the wrong direction. Speaking of different directions, there we go. So it's really, again, about getting you into these captivating places. We are a small cruise line with 6 small ships. But as you can see on your screen, for a small cruise line with just 6 ships, we truly do cover the globe. And this is the ports of call where you can actually embark your Windstar cruise. So, people may think of us as being a cruise line that offers tropical destinations, and Melissa's got Tahiti, where we're year-round, as her background. We're known for our Mediterranean cruises and the cruises in the Greek Isles. But we've got, Canada, New England cruises up to Alaska in the summer months. We do a wonderful cruise that circumnavigates the island of Iceland from Reykjavik. Some great Northern European cruises. We get down into Asia, and we have if you've ever wanted to see Japan, a great cruise in Japan that includes the inland sea. And we're also, for the first time ever, getting down to Australia, New Zealand at the end of 2022. So we do really cover the globe. And again, it's about these bucket list places and getting you these experiences that are very, very unique. And here is, if you may know, this is the Celsius Library in Ephesus, which you can visit from the port of Kusadasi on our Greek Islands cruise. One of the things that we do on this cruise, we actually rent out this library in the evening, and we provide dinner with live music right there in the library for all of our guests as a complimentary experience on that Greek Islands cruise. And it's something that we can do because our ship carries only 148 guests. So you can take all of the ship there because of, again, of our ship size. It's these sort of intimate experiences that are very unique to the Windstar cruise. If you take our Alaska cruises, another example, we offer what we call the Signature Expedition Program, which is where we literally, off of the stern of the ship, will actually do tours on kayaks and zodiacs right up to the glaciers. So the ship gets up much closer than you would on, say, a larger ship, and you've got this more intimate experience, getting you up close and personal to the destination. Part of the expedition program includes that we've got the expedition guides. There's 6 for the ship. They are actually talking to you with lectures by day, giving you the history of Alaska and talking about the geology of the region. And at the same time, they may end up having dinner with you. So it's a chance for you to really connect, again, because of the small ship size. So, we're not just another cruise line. We like to say that we're another travel experience altogether. In other words, yes, we're our cruise, but I would oftentimes say that we are the cruise line for people who aren't particularly into cruises. We get a lot of first-time cruisers because of the way we help you get to the destination. Now, I talked about the fact that we are a small ship, but what does that really mean to you? It means to you that your cruise experience is not going to be with crowds. You're not going to be traveling with thousands of your newest best friends. This is an experience for you to be sailing on a yacht that carries about 340 guests or less. So it's this, again, up close and personal experience on this small ship. And you note here that we've got a couple of different ship styles that actually are quite unique. First of all, on the right side of your screen, these are the iconic classic sailing yachts that Windstar Cruises actually started with back when we first began as a company. They are cruise ships with sails. They actually can go under complete sailing power. We can literally turn off the engines, if you will, and sail. Now, does that happen frequently? No. It is much like your hybrid car, if you have one, where you have a sort of a combination of sort of gas and electric. The same thing. The ship is generally operating with a mix of sail and power, obviously to make sure we get you to the destination on time. But they are true sails. They're computerized. There are actually computerized ballast tanks as well to make sure that you are having a smooth sailing experience. But it is definitely a unique experience in the cruise industry. The other class of ship is our Star class that you see on the left side of your screen. These are all suite yachts. Minimum square footage of a stateroom or a suite on board is 277 square feet, so it's quite large. The experience across both styles of yacht is consistent. It's the food, the service, the ambiance remains consistent. It really is just a matter of what you are choosing in types of ship. The other thing that's consistent is that both classes of ship actually have a water sports platform. And it is here where you can actually literally swim off of the stern of the ship. We actually do lower the stern. There are all the toys complimentary there for you, and you can actually experience this. And I will share with you that throughout this presentation, you'll see some photos like this that I actually took myself on board the Star Breeze this summer. So these aren't just marketing shots. These are real shots of what the experience is like on board our ship. So again, 6 perfectly sized yachts carrying between 148 to 342 guests. So true small ship cruising. You'll also find that everyone gets along. There is a lot of like-minded travelers. It's a very friendly atmosphere on board. And then the crew, as I mentioned, really, truly live for giving you genuine personalized service. There's something about that and the connection between the guests and the crew. And in fact, just last week on the Star Legend, the crew were doing a crew show, and there was a crew member from the front office singing, and spontaneously everyone had their phones up, and they were literally with their phones going back and forth with the light on their phones as the crew was singing. And this is just something that sort of happened spontaneously. I don't think you'd really see that on a big ship. I think it's because of connection. So you've got these uncrowded spaces and this understated luxury, if you will. You notice I'm not wearing a tie or a jacket for this presentation, and you would not need a tie or a jacket on board a Windstar cruise. Ladies, you don't need to really pack those ball gowns for this. This is a luxurious experience, but without the pretense, without that need to sort of dress up, if you will. Now, people dress in sort of a country club casual type of atmosphere. Culinary is also extremely important to Windstar, and somehow during the pandemic, I don't know whether our chefs got better, whether we upped our budgets, but the food on board Windstar, which was always really good, seems to be elevated even more coming out of the pandemic here. We are the official cruise line of the James Beard Foundation. We also incorporate local cuisine, so the chefs do go shopping in the ports of Gaul and picking up local fruits and vegetables or fresh fish, and you'll see that on the menu. There is no formal nights, as I mentioned, no assigned dining, no set times for dinner. And in fact, for our specialty restaurants on board, there's no charges for specialty dining. And we'll talk a little bit about what some of those restaurants are as we move into the other parts of the presentation. But we'd like to say that our Windstar guests do far more than soaking up the local flavor, that you actually do have it for dinner. Because again, we're bringing this on board. We feel that not only do you need to see and experience the destination, but you need to taste the destination on board a Windstar yacht. We talked a little bit earlier about the Wind class. Here's another image of the Windstar, one of our smaller sailing yachts. This is the standard stateroom on Windstar. It is 188 square feet. There are no inside staterooms on any Windstar Cruises ship. So when you see a price, it is always starting at an ocean view price. The sailing yachts pretty much do have these consistent stateroom sizes. The categories really are about location, and you'll notice that in keeping with the true sailing ship ambiance, we do have the portholes. There are no balconies on board the smaller, actually on board the Wind class at all. Why? Because you don't need them. You don't need a private deck space because the ship is only carrying 148 guests. So all of the deck space really becomes your private balcony, if you will. But they're very well designed. In fact, on the Windsurf, the larger sailing ship, we actually do have a few suites available. What we did is we literally cut out the wall between two staterooms and made them into a suite. So that means these become 360 square feet. And the fun part that we did, Melissa, what was the fun part when we cut out the wall? What did we keep?
Well, there's 2 bathrooms, which I think is great. Perfect. His and hers, if you will.
All of the marriage saver suites, because there's, you've heard of couples towels. Well, now you have couples bathrooms. So there you go. We also have a very unique suite on board the Windsurf called the Officer Suite. It's located in the officer's quarters itself. And we've added some very nice nautical touches to that suite as well. This is what the lounge looks like on the Windsurf. So you can see, again, it sort of has this sort of personal classic yacht feeling. I love the sort of the louvered shutters, if you will, on the windows. Not something you would typically see on a ship, but I think it then again adds to the sort of the yacht-like feeling. This is the veranda restaurant. This is the casual outdoor sort of al fresco restaurant. This is the indoor area of that. But this is where you have breakfast and lunch on board. You can see lots of floor-to-ceiling windows, lots of open air. These yachts really do connect you with the sea. You really do feel like you are on a ship when you are sailing with any of the Windstar yachts for that matter. But this gives you an idea of just the open deck space that you've got. And then moving over to our Star Plus class, this is our all-suite class of ships. And you may have heard, but recently these ships all went through a major transformation. We actually cut the ships in half. That is the lengthwise. We didn't cut them down the middle. We cut them and sort of stretched them, if you will. But the yellow section there is actually the added section. But I love to show this drawing because anything you see here in color is something that we touched as part of this transformation. So unlike some other cruise ships that were recently stretched, and that was a quick in and out at a midsection in, we really completely transformed these all-suite yachts in many different ways. We added 50 brand new suites. We gutted the bathrooms in all of the existing suites. This is the owner suite, one of the family suites, if you will. And this is a picture I took of my suite, not a marketing touched up photo, but this is the smallest room that you will have on board this ship. It is, as I said, 277 square feet. Many have what we call the French balconies. That you can actually go out and sit on the balcony, but you can actually stand out and enjoy the fresh air, or open the doors and let the fresh air come into your room. This is another view of that same room taken from a little bit of a different angle, so you can see a little bit of the seating area. And this is the bathrooms. And you may wonder, why did Steve put a picture of a shower head? And that is really to remind you, or remind me to tell you, that when we did these bathrooms, this is the best water pressure I have ever had on any cruise ship, or probably even any hotel for that matter. It is really a really great shower on board these ships. We also expanded the spa and the fitness area so that now you've got these sort of areas that you can go. The retreat area of the spa is actually complimentary to you. There's no charge for that as one of our guests. So that's another nice feature, if you will. And there we go. And then the outdoor pool area is another area that we expanded. And then this is a picture of our dining room. So you can get a sense and a feeling of what it is like on board our ships. We did add 2 new alternative restaurants on board. We have Quadro 44. We partnered with celebrity chef Anthony Sasso, who started Casamono, New York City. He has a Spanish restaurant on board. That's what the restaurant looks like. And then we partnered with Stephen Reichland, creating the Star Grill, which is where we actually do our own smoked meats on board. We actually do our own barbecue. We have our own sauces, and we work with Stephen Reichland on that menu. And then lastly, the other alternative restaurant, remembering, of course, that all alternative restaurants are complimentary, is the Veranda Cafe. The other thing, we also include all non-alcoholic beverages. So you're not going to be charged for bottled water. You're not going to be charged for soft drinks or your favorite cappuccino. All of those are included in the cruise fare as well. We wanted to talk a little bit about Tahiti. We've got a great Tahiti promotion right now where we actually do have a package where we put together a cruise with airfare from Los Angeles and your necessary hotels. And it gives you an opportunity. These are sort of a nice package to get you to the islands of Tahiti. You may recognize that image there. It's Melissa's background. This is, again, an example of all of the things that are included in this package. It's a great opportunity for you to get to Tahiti. And I know that you've got a choice of a couple different cruise lines that are going to Tahiti. But I would just like to point out that our sails make it a very romantic experience and definitely the envy of anyone else in the islands that day, whether they be on land or any other cruise ship. And it is a great way, by the way, to see the island of Tahiti is by cruise ship. The other thing is that we've got some exclusive pricing with Luxury Cruise Connection. On a few different sailings here, the Star Legend in the Mediterranean that's the ship I was just on. We've got a Tahiti sailing in October of 2022, an Alaska sailing, and also the Rome and Grand Prix sailing, which is a special cruise where we actually take the ship and she will dock right there in Monaco for the Grand Prix. We actually include a seating package. There's some people on board that do some lectures. It's a really nice experience. And we have some special pricing available to you through Luxury Cruise Connection on these departures as well. I don't know, Melissa, if there's anything that you wanted to add to this particular slide.
Yes, I would love to. So Luxury Cruise Connections secured really great rates in advance. So you're going to get rates that are probably better than what's being offered now. They're up to 10% off. And also Luxury Cruise Connection has some special perks available to you on these particular sailings. So there's shipboard credits. You would have the opportunity to add a free hotel night or additional shipboard credit. So you'll definitely want to reach out to your Luxury Cruise Connection representative and they can let you know what staterooms and suites are available. And I encourage you to book nice and early because these ships do sell quite well and they're small ships. So you want to book earlier than what you usually book for the bigger ships, limited availability, but these prices are very attractive and the perks make it even better. So we encourage you to come aboard. You'll love it.
That Rome and Grand Prix itinerary is pretty hot, huh?
Yeah, and you'll notice that it's a 2023 date, and that is because 2022 is sold out.
Exactly, and obviously, if anybody's ever wanted to go, to the Grand Prix, you know how difficult it is to find accommodations and what an amazing experience it is to be there on a yacht like this.
Great. So Just one to touch a little bit about what we call beyond ordinary care, because certainly if you're interested in cruising in the near term, this is something that is definitely on your mind. I will share with you that it is a constantly changing environment. You know, we could have prepared a slide yesterday, and today what we would be talking about might be different. But I can assure you that we're doing everything that we can on board to make sure that you do have a healthy and safety focused vacation. We actually are a 100% vaccinated cruise requirement, so everyone on board will be vaccinated, both the guests and the crew. We also do testing on the pier with our complements prior to embarkation to the vessel. So again, all guests are tested and all crew are also tested on an ongoing basis. So that's part of our beyond ordinary care. The other thing that we are doing is that we actually, during the pandemic, we went and completely retrofitted all of the HVAC system on board our ships. And I'm pleased to share with you, I think we are the only cruise line that 100% of our ships have been outfitted with hospital grade air filtration systems. So this involves, and I never thought I would be doing a presentation to you about cruising and talking to you about HVAC systems, but nonetheless, I thought this might be a little bit of interest for you to see. But you can see on the left side, the fresh air comes into the system and goes through actually a couple of different filtration systems where we've added really high-grade HEPA filters. The air is then heated and then cooled, and then as it's cooling, it is actually being zapped with UVC light, which is that sort of final phase, and that is what we added onto the ships, is that UVC light technology. And that is what you would typically see in a hospital, and it's what you see on board all 6 of Windstar's ships. Before we jump into that next slide, just as a note, currently we are asking our guests in areas indoors where you cannot be social distanced. We are asking for masks to be worn on board. We are not using masks outdoors. We are not using masks in dining and things like that. But you know, if you're watching a show or if you're doing something like that where it might be a little bit more of a crowded space, we are asking guests to currently wear masks. That may change depending on the destination. The other question that probably comes to your mind that I'll just go ahead and answer now as we're on this slide, and that is in regards to what is called bubble tours. There are certain countries where their local regulations with the startup of cruising requires that guests going ashore only go ashore in a ship-operated shore excursion, so they can control the environment, make sure that the guests stay safe on board the ship, but also make sure that the locals also stay safe in their mind. We do not require bubble tours as a brand, but if a particular country does require them, they are required. So for example, last week on the Star Legend cruise in the Med, when I was in Italy, bubble tours were required by Italy, but in Greece they were not. So in Greece, guests could go ashore freely on their own. We are a part of Xanterra Travel Collection, which is a number of great travel companies that are listed here on the slide as well. So, you know, rest assured that we are in great financial condition, even coming out of this difficult time. We're privately owned by a gentleman from Colorado, and we're also part of this national park and Vermont Bicycle Tours and a number of other great travel companies. Ultimately, what we really wanted to say is that our crew are truly looking forward to welcoming you on board soon. You know, there is something special and unique about the Windstar Cruises crew. And I think that you will find that that small ship environment really makes a big difference. And so we really would love to welcome you on board. Hopefully I've whet your appetite to learn a little bit more about our brand. I feel that we give you definitely a unique cruise experience that is far different from any other cruise that you may have experienced in the past. And while I'm choking up here, Melissa, maybe you can just share with the special offer that we've put aside here in conjunction with Luxury Cruise Connection.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. That was exciting. It makes me want to go right now. How about you guys? Y'all want to go on a Windstar cruise? Let's do it.
I know I do.
Awesome. Well, in addition to those great exclusive rates that Luxury Cruise Connections has on several sailings, they have a Mediterranean, Tahiti, Alaska, the Grand Prix with Rome. So in addition to those great rates and the perks that come with it, all of our voyages have extremely attractive rates right now, plus an additional gift because you are attending this presentation today. You would be entitled to a $200 shipboard credit that's per stateroom or suite for your new booking on Windstar on any of our 6 beautiful yachts on all available sailings, remaining sailings from 2021 through 2023. So, and these are bookings made by now through November 4th. So, the rates are great. The ships are amazing, and what's even better is you'll have a little extra spending money to enjoy your trip. You may want to use that at the spa to treat yourself to a massage or a spa treatment. Maybe buy yourself something wonderful in our beautiful gift shop. Perhaps maybe buy a tour while on board. There are a lot of ways you can use that fun spending money to make the trip even better. And this is combinable with all available promotions right now, including the exclusive rates that Luxury Cruise Connection has on those several sailings. So we encourage you to reach out to your Luxury Cruise Connections advisor just as soon as possible and start planning your Windstar voyage to one of your bucket list destinations or many of your bucket list destinations. We have cruises ranging from 7 to 79 days. So if you can imagine it, we probably can take you there or close to it. We'd love to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we can absolutely leave this, slide open for a little while longer to get our people excited here. But I do want to start with some questions that we have from our guests, and then I'll ask some questions that I have myself. So let's see. We have. All right. So Paul is asking us, do you have single supplement fares or promotions?
Yes, we do. So most cruise lines do automatically charge a 200% single supplement, and that's sort of the industry standard. We do not automatically. Our solo fare, it's calculated 175% instead of 200%. However, if it's a owner suite, one of our largest suites, then that would be at 200%. But if you're getting an owner suite, I'm pretty sure you'll have a friend or neighbor, someone that wants to go with you, right?
Every so often, do you come up with 150% single supplement promos or something like that, or not often?
So we do currently have select sailings right now that are on a reduced solo supplement special for a limited time, and we do have 125% on those sailings. So that's definitely something to take a look at, and that's capacity controlled while available. So it is, it is a limited time offer. You do need to put a deposit to secure that promotion just as soon as possible.
Hey, Carlos, just to add to that, Paul is Monica's guest, and I'll share with Monica where she can get the link and forward it to Paul, so this way he can see the cruises that have the single supplements.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Hi, Paul.
There's Monica. So,
that was a great question.
Susan is asking, will you be expanding to include Marquises?
Not currently. So our French Polynesia, cruises year-round are the Society Islands and the Tuamotu Islands. We are repositioning one of our yachts. The Wind Spirit is heading towards Singapore. And so she will be making some stops along the way, like in the Cook Islands, in I think it's Fiji, Vanuatu. But unfortunately, we're not heading, Marquises, I believe, are like a little northwest of Tahiti, and that's not the route that we're taking. But Steve, are you familiar with any future itineraries that will include the Marquesas?
Most likely not, unfortunately. The ship that is in Tahiti is the Wind Spirit, as Melissa mentioned, and the speed of that ship does not allow for us really to get off the beaten path, or otherwise you'd have way too many sea days, because she cannot go at the speed that you would of a regular ship, and so that does restrict sometimes the abilities to get some places.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Not every cruise line has year-round itineraries in that region. So, weather in the region, truthfully, for most of the year is pretty stable, right? It's pretty much. It's beautiful
In
weather
Tahiti?
all year round. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really have a hurricane season like we're familiar with here in Florida. They have a little bit of a rainy season, but it's not, it's not something that would necessarily disrupt the cruise itineraries. It's typically sun showers, and it doesn't last long. So they really don't have much of a winter. So that's one reason that is really the only itinerary we offer year round would be the Tahiti itineraries. Because there's no bad time to go to Tahiti.
Of course, I agree. Susan was also commenting. She said, useful to know about the countries that require bubble tours. Can you keep this updated on the Windstar website? Now there is one blanket statement. We can let Steve or Melissa answer that, but I will say this, Susan. As travel advisors, cruise advisors, it is our responsibility to do the best we can to keep you informed of what the latest restrictions are when you're booking. The reality is that, like Steve was saying, we can post something today. By the time you sell, it's a different story. So when you leave something like that in writing on a website, it's can cause some problems. I think that the most general blanket statement we can all make is, some countries require it. We can look into which ones at the time of booking, but understanding that, things can change at any time. Now, the good news is, at least from my vantage point, is, countries are opening up even more so. If anything, restrictions are being relaxed more and more, as of course, keeping things very, very safe. If the world continues to go in the direction that we're going, I think this will be even less of a concern in the future months. What do you guys think, Steve, Melissa?
Yeah, Carlos, I couldn't say it better myself. A good example is Tahiti, where when we started sailing in Tahiti in September, bubble tours were not required, and then they shut down the islands, and we had to stop cruising for a few weeks. And then coming back, then they required bubble tours on certain islands, but not other islands. And so because it's so dynamic, we'd have to hire 3 full-time people just to keep the website updated. And then of course, you read something today and you think that that's what it is, and then tomorrow it changes. So we do keep it unfortunately generic. We can always tell you the current information if if your luxury cruise connection advisor reaches out to us, you can reach to them and they can look into it for you. But it will. I can guarantee you, the one thing that I can know for sure is that it will change.
So since we're talking about Tahiti, Louis is asking, is there a second ship in Tahiti, Star Breeze?
So we're being a little tricky here. Normally, we only have our sailing ship in Tahiti. However, and this seems so weird to say this, but very soon the Wind Spirit will actually be going off to dry dock. And you might be thinking, wasn't the ship just out of service for like 18 months because of the pandemic? Why are you sending her off to dry dock? And that's really because, our ship has a regular maintenance schedule, and just because they were out of service doesn't mean that maintenance schedule stops. And so, yes, she just started, but she's immediately going off this winter. And actually, it looks like she'll be heading up to, and I'm going to contradict Melissa a little bit. It looks like she's going to be heading up to Vancouver, actually, to do her dry dock because of the number of cases that are happening right now in Singapore with COVID. We're having to sort of change that up. But while she's in dry dock, because Tahiti is so popular, Carlos, we're actually bringing the Star Breeze, one of our all-suite ships, into Tahiti to sort of cover for her while she's in dry dock. So it is essentially we really won't have, except for a short overlap, 2 ships in Tahiti. It's really about making sure that we're year-round in Tahiti, just because it's such a popular destination.
So we might not be getting this question in the chat right now, but I do want to ask so that we can share with our guests. What's the what has Windstar been doing with guests that unfortunately have been booked on sailings that had to been suspended or redeployed or heavily modified? What has been the policy so far, and what do you expect the policy to be in the futures to come?
If we canceled a cruise, guests were offered either the opportunity for a refund or a future cruise credit in the amount of 125% of the cruise fare that they paid. We do have, sadly, some guests that have been rebooked 3 different times, and most of them now are finally getting a chance to sail, so that's exciting. But we obviously made sure that they got their refund, or they had an opportunity to actually get a little bit more money back that they can apply to a future cruise. We also currently do have in place, and it is expiring soon, but for any cruises departing up until March 31st of next year, we do have what we call the Travel Assurance Booking Program. So that allows guests at their discretion to cancel any cruise up to 48 hours prior to departure. Again, it must be a departure that departs before March 31st of next year, but then they will get a future cruise credit in the value of any cancellation fee that would normally be charged. Obviously, if someone's canceling 120 days out, there's normally a full refund. That's totally fine. But if they would cancel, say, 72 hours before, that is a situation where, again, that would be typically a full penalty, but we would issue a full penalty in a future cruise credit for those guests. As long as they notify us, and as long as it's a sailing that's departing before next March.
Okay, that's good to know, because some guests are still expecting some sort of flexibility. I mean, for as much as things are moving in the right direction and countries are starting to open up, and there's a lot, definitely substantially less uncertainty today than there was a few months ago. So some people still want to make sure that in case something were to go in a different direction, what the expectations are. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about Christmas and New Year sailings out of Barbados in the future.
So we will be sailing out of Barbados again in the future. I don't believe we have any Christmas or New Year sailings out of Barbados. I believe we have in January of 22. I believe it's like towards the end of January, we have round trip Bridgetown, Barbados, which is Jewels of the Windward Isle. So it's a little bit after the holidays. That's on the Windsurf. That's the world's largest passenger sailing yacht, and she's absolutely beautiful. It's a 7-day cruise. So I don't believe we have anything out of Barbados for Christmas or New Year's. We also have a little bit towards the end of January, Barbados to Aruba. That's one of our Star Collector sailings, which are our longer cruises. That's a 15-day cruise on the Windsurf. So the answer is no, unfortunately. I'm not familiar. I don't believe we have Christmas, New Year's out of Barbados, but we certainly could get you on a beautiful Caribbean cruise out of another port, let's say St. Martin, if we still have availability this year. You could check with your Luxury Cruise Connection advisor, and they can pull up the Christmas and New Year sailings, depending on which year you're looking at. For next year, I'm sorry, for 23, I believe we have Star Legend will be there, one of our all-suite yachts in 23 in Barbados. So that's a beautiful option. So we can get you on a great cruise to the Caribbean for Christmas and New Year's.
Let's talk real quick about, okay, let's answer Susan's question first. In future years, any plans for the Seychelles, India, Sri Lanka, or into Chile, Easter Island?
So, Susan, I'm going to give you a very similar answer to what I answered about the Marquesa Islands. It's certainly beautiful parts of the world and very interesting places. Our guests tell us, when we poll both our past guests as well as guests inquiring, that they don't like a lot of days at sea. Our guests, as I mentioned when I was doing the presentation, are very much into being in ports, seeing destinations, and to get to those types of destinations would require quite a few days at sea. And again, because of the slower speeds that our ships operate at, it would require a substantial number of days at sea. And so at the moment, we're not really looking at those destinations because that would be a requirement. There is, if any of them at some point, you may see us, I don't know, 4 or 5 years down the road, basing a ship for a little bit in the Seychelles, just because that is certainly an area that we think would work well. But again, it would be difficult to offer much more than just a Seychelles cruise because of the speed of the ship and the fact that they're pretty isolated part of the world.
Okay, good to know.
Hey, Carlos, may I suggest that either Melissa or Steve, because my guests have loved the all-inclusive voyages, and if one of them could explain how, a lot of guests don't like getting nickeled and dimed. I think it would be very important, especially for guests who have never been with Windstar, to explain the all-inclusive.
Yeah, great question. Perfect, thank you. So, there's lots of different approaches to luxury, right? There's a lot of cruise lines out there that define luxury as being all-inclusive. And what we really believe, and we're a little bit different in this area, but we believe that luxury really is personal, and that luxury means about having choice in the way that you spend your money on a holiday. And so we provide a base level of experience that is definitely in the luxury category. Our base level experience includes a wonderful ocean view stateroom or suite, outstanding service, just some of the best food you'll have on board any cruise ship, all complimentary alternative restaurants. And as I mentioned, we're not charging you for bottled water, soft drinks, any coffee drinks and things like that you would get at a coffee type bar. But we don't include the alcohol because, again, we think that people have different tastes. And so what we've done, and again, a great question, thank you for mentioning about our all-inclusive package. For $79 per guest per day, you can add an all-inclusive package that literally would add the gratuities for the staff. It adds an unlimited beverage package, and it adds an unlimited Wi-Fi package. So those are the 3 things that most guests would want to have. And so you can turn your cruise then into an all-inclusive experience if you wish. I will share with you, like my mother, she likes to have a glass of wine at dinner, and that is the only time she will drink. So for her, she would want to go on a luxury line that is all-inclusive because she feels like she's paying for everyone else's drinks, and she could go on Windstar Cruises and she could buy her glass of wine and she'd be perfectly happy. The other thing about our all-inclusive package that is very unique, I think, in the industry is that if she drinks and he doesn't, she can buy the all-inclusive package and he does not have to buy it. So in other words, we are not forcing everyone in the stateroom to get an all-inclusive package if you don't want. I think we're one of the few cruise lines that does it. And someone once asked me, well, how do you do that? Aren't you afraid or concerned that they'll share drinks? And we answer that quite simply, that we trust our guests. So that gives you a sense of that all-inclusive package. Again, if you drink a good number of drinks a day, I mean, I'm not, that sounds bad, but I mean, if you like to have, the flexibility to not be thinking about drink charges on board, it makes for a great way to make it affordable and include everything up front. But again, if you choose, if maybe your definition of luxury is not about drinks, maybe it is about, going on private shore excursions and all the different ports of call, you're not tying up your vacation money in a drink package that you wouldn't use. And so we really believe it's all about choice.
So Albie, who got off Windstar recently, apparently was very much afraid of touching the minibar because they didn't think they charged. So what about the minibar?
Sure, I can answer that. The non-alcohol is included automatically in the minibar. So you can go ahead and have those bottled waters, those soda pops, the refreshments, the juice and stuff like that. So if you have the drink package, if you purchase that, that would also include the alcohol selections in the minibar. That would be part of that.
If you're a guest, write that down.
As well as 24-hour room service. You could order a cocktail if you wanted to, because you never know when you need that 3 a.m. martini, right? We're on vacation, so you might need a cocktail in the middle of the night. You never know. So, but yeah, if you have the drink package, the minibar would be included for the alcohol drinks. Or if you don't have the drink package, they'll just charge you accordingly for what you did enjoy from the minibar for the alcohol drinks. But the non-alcohol is always included.
So, okay, great. So I have another question going back to safety policies and regulations. Let's share with our guests current rules about kids, vaccinations, all that.
Yeah, so we are not a cruise line that is really, I would say, kid friendly. So just know that up front. We in fact do not accept kids under the age of 8 on board. So you need to be 9 or older. And even then, you don't see a lot of teens on board our ships. You will see them periodically in Alaska, maybe some summer months, school vacations. But in general, there's not a lot of kids activities on board. If you have a kid that is traveling on Windstar, they definitely need to be someone that doesn't necessarily need to be around other kids. They would certainly enjoy the water sports platform. They'd enjoy a lot of the ports that we visit and the tours and going ashore every day. But if they're going to look for games, other kids to interact with, they're not going to find that. So to come back to your vaccination question, then, Carlos, it's a 100% vaccinated cruise. So all guests, regardless of age, do need to be vaccinated in order to sail on board.
Okay. So basically, obviously, kids under 12 are currently not vaccinated, therefore they're expected not to be able to go.
Correct. Yeah. And again, we wouldn't accept kids under the age of 8, so it's really this sort of 9 to 12 range. But yeah, if they would not be allowed to sail. That is correct.
Right. So Steve, how can I assess whether or not I'm the right client to go on Windstar? Like, what should my lifestyle be like? What should I normally like? What should I normally want to eat? What type of experiences should I normally like? How active should I be? Like, who's your typical client?
Yeah. So, and Melissa, feel free to add any color after I respond to this from your perspective too, because I know you're out there a lot. So, Carlos, first of all, you appreciate the finer things, right? You are definitely, when you travel, you like to travel in style. You appreciate good service. You appreciate good service, but when I say good service, what that means is you like service where they anticipate your needs, where they get to know your name, where they know your favorite drink before you even ask for it. You walk into a bar and they immediately sit that in front of you before you even ask. But not so much from the standpoint of that you like good service, that you need a butler to unpack your suitcases for you, right? Because we don't have butlers on board. It is not a sort of stuffy type of atmosphere. It's just more of laid back and casual. And I'll just give you a little comparison. I used to work for another cruise line named Seabourn. And when I would sail on Seabourn, the crew would greet me and say, "Hello, Mr. Seamau." When I go on Windstar, they always say, "Hello, Mr. Steve." If you need that formality, if you need, that sort of butler or to be addressed by your surname or things like that, you're probably not the right guest for Windstar. Maybe you are a college professor, or maybe you owned your own company, and you want to go on vacation and you appreciate luxury and style, but you don't necessarily want to be known. You just want to be low key. You want to just, enjoy traveling with other like-minded guests. That is definitely a Windstar cruise is great for you. It's that sort of casually, if you like to get dressed up and put on your suit and put on your gowns and go to dinner all formal, you're not going to find that on a cruise. But if you like wearing a polo shirt and khakis, and having a really nice quality meal in a comfortable environment, it's perfect for you. You said active. It's really interesting. when I started at Windstar 6 years ago, they told me the guests of Windstar are active guests. And I was like, what does that even mean, right? And I've got a couple of stories that I think really bring this to light. I was on a cruise, and I had just recently decided to become a little bit more fit, and so I took a tour called Hiking Through the Panamanian Forest. And there was a woman named Margaret. Margaret was celebrating her 80th birthday on the cruise, and so everyone knew Margaret because it was her 80th birthday. Margaret was on the Hiking Through the Panamanian Forest with me, and in fact, she said to me, "Excuse me, Steve, can you go faster or get out of my way?" while I was on that tour with her. So I was like, wow, there you go, that's the active guest. But then conversely, when I was on the windsurf, as I mentioned, all of our yachts have this sort of fold-down water sports platform, and I was on the back pool deck overlooking the water sports platform. And this couple came up to me, and they knew I worked for Windstar, and they sort of they had canes that they were walking up to me with. And they said, you know, we chose this cruise for that water sports platform. And I'm looking at the water sports platform, and I'm looking at them and with their canes, and I'm like, have you used it? You know, because I didn't picture them getting on a banana boat, right? And they said, oh, no, we've got these canes, but we just like to watch. So they were active in their minds, you know. And I'll say one more sort of story to give you some comparisons, and then I'll let Melissa say anything that she wants to add. As I mentioned, I worked for another cruise line. I actually worked for Holland America Line for 19 years, and that was a company that also was associated with Seabourn. So here's 3 ways that you can go ashore. On Holland America Line, the majority of guests go ashore, and they buy from the Shore Excursion Office something called a panorama tour. A panorama tour is where you get on a motor coach with 44 other guests, and you do a city tour for 3 hours, and you see all the highlights from the comfort of your 44 motor coach bus. A Seabourn guest would probably go to those exact same spots, but they would want to do it with a private car and a private driver. A Windstar guest would say, hey, we're in port. I've researched, and there's this really nice local cafe that I want to go find. But to find it, I'm going to meander the side streets, look at some of the shops. I'm going to stop in a museum, and I'm going to go sit down, and I'm going to have a cafe at this local place. Or if they are going to take a tour, they're going to take the tour that, like in Vietnam, is pho in a local home. So we actually have a Vietnamese woman in her house cooking pho for you, and you sit down with her family and you enjoy pho while sitting with her family in her house. So that is the difference, I think, in the way the guests go ashore. Again, the activeness of the Windstar guests, that they really want to touch and feel that destination. And so, and there's of course crossover, but I think it gives you a sense of, if you're someone that really likes to explore, get up close and personal to a destination, don't like crowds, want to be on a luxury experience, but let your hair down and have a little fun, you can go line dancing with the captain on Windstar Cruises. It literally happened. I have pictures to prove it. So, that is the type of experience that you have on Windstar. So over to Melissa, if you've got anything to add.
Wow, Steve, that was great. You did a great job. I think you covered everything. I'll just add that, even if you're not a cruiser, that's okay. You are still going to love Windstar, because we get a lot of our first-time Windstar guests that come aboard because they really want to see different parts of the world that are best seen by a small ship, but they weren't looking for a cruise. Their travel advisor, asked them what they're looking for, and really realized that a Windstar yacht is the best way to see that part of the world and to spend more time ashore and to really get to know the region. And so a lot of our new repeat cruisers were never cruisers in the first place, but they like the idea of a yacht style vacation. So that could describe some of our guests on board as well. They may not be cruisers, but they're just people that really are looking to see the world in a different perspective. You know, not really like a tourist, but more like a traveler.
So, real quick, I would love to have Albie kind of join us for a second and share his personal experience. Albie has been in the industry for quite some time, and he's cruised quite a bit, right? So we've been talking a lot about how this is a great experience also for non-cruisers, but Albie being a cruiser himself, right? Because we've been in a lot of them and like it. You know, would normal regular cruisers also like it? And what about your experience? And real quick, just before we go into that, quick yes or no question. Restaurants aboard Star Legend, they're all included in the price, right?
Yes, all of the restaurants on all 6 of our ships are always included. No
Perfect.
dining surcharges.
Perfect. Albie, so share with us.
All right. Well, first I'd like to thank Melissa and Steve and all the guests that showed up today to be here with us. That was very good of you guys. I had a great experience on Windstar, and like Carlos mentioned, I have quite a bit of travel experience. I've worked all over the industry, not just in cruising, and I had some very great impressions on board. For one, the onboard experience, you guys mentioned service. The service is fantastic. Even without butlers, I felt like if I needed anything done, I had 2 room attendants that were extremely attentive. I had a little bit of a little hiccup with my air conditioning one night of the cruise, and they stayed on that task and made sure it was all sorted out while I was out of the room without me even asking it. They offered me to switch rooms if I wanted to. So the service is fantastic. There was a card for breakfast on my door every morning. They mentioned 24-hour room service, which was excellent. I had most of my meals in my room, with my French balcony door open. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I took advantage of it at all hours. The dining is excellent. You know, on ships this small, a lot of times you feel like there's room crunches in terms of dining rooms, or smaller kitchen space would mean that there's corners being cut. What really impressed me the most about the dining was that there were items on the menu that I normally wouldn't have eaten. I was not a big fan of anchovies, and one of the best things I ate on the ship was an anchovy in Quattro 44. So to me, that was a truly impressive thing. It's just like, restaurants, you can judge them very well on what you like that they do well, but the things that you don't like, if they can impress you with them, that's pretty fantastic. Another great aspect of the onboard experience, they have an open bridge on Windstar. So, and not only that, but everybody knows your name. I was, I believe, the only single traveler on board, and I was immediately adopted by pretty much every other group on board the ship, which was excellent. But the experience that you'll have, it's very akin to a luxury boutique hotel experience. I don't know how else, I felt less like I was a cruiser and more like I was a guest on somebody's yacht. Everybody knew my name. Everybody was very attentive, helped me. Even at one point, I got a really bad sunburn, and my stateroom attendant offered to go pick up the sunscreen for me. It's Malo, which was really nice. See, I took a little note here. Steve mentioned small, secluded beaches and destination-focused traveler, and I can't agree with them more. One of the, probably the biggest question right now for people cruising is COVID floating around in the air. There's all these questions about how it's going to affect your cruise. People are still concerned about being in crowds. Well, I was one of 150 people on this ship. And when you look at the cruise lines that Windstar competes with in this market of destination-focused travelers, they have the smallest, most intimate ships out there for the price point. With the inclusions, I did do the beverage package inclusion, or the all-in inclusion, and I would recommend it to anybody. It really enhanced the cruise. I don't drink very much, but even so, with the included Wi-Fi and the mini bar and all the other items that came with it, it definitely bumped the experience up to what felt like an out-of-market, really, really top-of-the-line experience. In terms of destinations-focused traveling, I consider myself to be very destination-focused. When I first started in the cruise industry, I was a little reluctant and kind of fearful of the big ships, but I was very attracted to the very small ship atmosphere, and to me, the thing that attracted me most to the cruise industry was the expedition cruise lines. This is similar in size to an expedition cruise ship. So one of the things that you really benefit from is those small, harder to get to beaches. We went to Pigeon Island in St. Lucia on my itinerary, tendered it to shore, no lines because the ship's so small. The tenders came and went on schedule. And that's huge right now because most recently I was on a ship with 3,000 people, and the worst part about it was lining up. This market that Windstar is in is actually, in terms of price point, is a real sweet spot, especially at a ship this size, because to get down to 150, below 300 guests, a lot of times you have to go all the way up to the expedition cruise lines, pay 3, maybe even 4 times as much as this. So I would say they're not only are they excellent in terms of the destinations that they go to and the experience that you'll have, I think they have an edge on their competition just because of the ship size and the intimacy on board. And if, like Steve mentioned, it's really hard to pin down what each person's definition of luxury is. But with where they, with the atmosphere on board, I felt like everybody's opinions were, in terms of luxury, were accommodated. The dining room is very informal. As long as you're wearing pants, you can go in there. But there were nights on board where people did get dressed up because they wanted to. The luxury is, you don't make that kind of money to pay for experiences like this, and then want somebody to tell you how you have to experience them. So it's a very unique experience. If you consider yourself a romantic, I could highly recommend not just the sailing vessels, but the motor vessels as well. Just the small size, the intimacy on board, the Caribbean sunsets, Tahiti, all of these things. But when you talk to the passengers, they're very much people that probably went home and watched No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain a lot. People that really want to go somewhere and get their hands on the destinations. And I really felt that in every one of the destinations we were in. We did have some bubble stops. I felt like Windstar managed those very well. St. Lucia had some additional testing requirements. I think Antigua did too when I was there. So they would have us come down in the morning, very organized, quick COVID test. The results came back in. They covered all the expenses. You got to go on, nothing skipped a beat. The onboard entertainment, if you're into giant trapeze shows and big theaters, you're not going to find that on a 150-person ship. However, Steve mentioned the cruise show. The cruise show is one of the best experiences I've had in terms of onboard entertainment. You see all these people that have been busting their hump for you the entire time, just really cut loose. And it's almost like a talent. It is a talent show. So it lends back to that intimacy I was telling you about the relationship between you and the crew. You really feel like you're just a guest on a friend's yacht. I would highly recommend if you're an experienced cruiser and you've been to the Caribbean a million times. As a travel agent, we run into this every day. Guests always start with the Caribbean, and sometimes you're looking for a way to freshen up a location that you've been a bunch of times. Well, with the sailing vessels and that Windstar offers, that's perfect for you because you can go to some of these places, you can see them through new eyes, you can get into a smaller beach, you can use the water sports platform. And, if you don't like the ports still, the onboard experience is fantastic. I recommend, the restaurants, Quattro 44 was my favorite. I went to Candles as well, had the porterhouse. There was a small upcharge for the porterhouse when I was on board, but I believe it was just to make sure that it didn't sell out. Other than
Albie, I almost answered that with a little asterisk when we said it was, so the specialty dining is all complimentary except for the 44-ounce porterhouse, which is, from what I understand from our manager of marine hotel operations, our cost on that is something like about $120.
Yeah.
And so we charge $40 for the $120 steak, but all other, including the filet mignons and everything, are all complimentary.
I will tell you all, it is worth it. That steak was fantastic. I was working on it for better half an hour, and then took the rest of it back to my room. It's great. I'd recommend it. There was also a tomahawk ribeye on the menu, guys. If you're carnivores, those are pretty impressive chunks of meat to eat underneath the stars. So, thank you guys very much for allowing me to go on this, because I had a blast. In terms of COVID protocols, right now, I touched on it a little bit, but the smaller ship you can go on, the better. COVID is the bottleneck. If you are concerned about it, if you're still, you're vaccinated, but you still are hesitant to go on one of these cruises, the best way to come back is on one of these smaller ships. To me, I felt the only time, during the travel process, my biggest goal, starting off on this cruise was to kind of get a feel for the COVID protocols, because it was my first trip back. And Windstar helped me through the process of actually filling out my paperwork, because some of the ports were requiring paperwork. They were very attentive to all that. And then when you're on board, if you're coming back from this year and a half of panic and fear, and you're still concerned about COVID, it's much easier to adjust to coming back to traveling when you're around 150 other people, when you're around 300 other people, versus going on 900 to 3,000 person ship. Recently, I was also on one of those larger ships, and I could tell you right now, the experience on Windstar from the smaller vessel. I went to Alaska last week. Had I been on one of Windstar's ships or a smaller vessel, if you're an experiential traveler, if you're a destination-focused traveler, the biggest thing on your mind for most people is, I want to get closer, right? If you want to see space, get a telescope. But if you want to experience it, buy a ticket on a rocket ship. So when I was in Alaska, the only thing that really harmed my experience was I seen a lot of stuff from a distance because I was on a floating skyscraper. So I would highly recommend for those ports where you've always wanted to go there, you've always wanted to get your hands on them, you really want to get a feel and see how people live there locally. I would definitely take a good close look at Windstar, because they've really gotten into a really nice little sweet spot in terms of price and what they offer. If there's any more specific answers I can provide for anybody, I'm more than happy to, but I'm going to turn it back over to Carlos and Melissa and Steve now.
Cool. We did have it seems like I might have skipped this question for whatever. I know we talked about it, but real quick to touch on the dress code again, there's no actual dress code, right? I mean, just like Albie said, you just have to wear pants to go to rest, to go to the dining room. But aside from that, there's no real, any comments on that, Melissa, Steve?
So, I mean, it's not really a dress code, but I guess, sort of the attire on board would be, let's say, country club casual, yacht club casual, yacht wear. Bring out your yacht wear. I very rarely saw any jeans on board when I was on Windstar. I don't think I ever saw jeans in the dining room. Maybe one night when someone wore like designer jeans, but Dockers, polos, nice casual wear. But during the day, very casual. I mean, bathing suits and things like that. But we want you to be comfortable, and you would probably never see like ball caps in the Amphora restaurant, for instance. But you might, out at the water sports platform, you might, certainly. So bring an assortment of casual, but yet elegant clothes for the evening. Albie, you were on more recently than I was, but does that kind of describe?
At all of the other restaurants except for Amphora, I was in shorts the whole time. I, being the genius that I am, going to the Caribbean, forgot to bring pants with me. But I like room service anyway, so it didn't really slow me down. The Quattro 44 candles, I was in there in shorts. Everybody was very comfortable with it. Didn't seem to bother anybody. Amphora, I went down there and I talked to the maitre d', and he didn't tell me no, but I just didn't want to make him pull any strings for me either. So I just had room service again that night. And then the spa, I forgot to mention, having access to the spa and the sea and to the heated tile loungers and the saunas was excellent. It was a great feature. There's great little waffle weave robes in each of the rooms when I was there. I took advantage of that. That's a huge feature that a lot of guests, going on even larger cruise ships, pay quite a bit extra for. And then, if you're on one of those ships with 2,000 people that have a room like that, and you pay for one of those rooms, you're already at the price point, or if not at it or over it, as Windstar. So, there's all these little detail-focused things that really lend to it being a luxury experience, but also it being for the luxury experience that I had, it's priced well under a lot of the, not only the cruise lines in their market that have upwards of 900 people on their ships, but well under, a lot of the cruise lines that have huge ships. So I would, for the bargain, for the romance, for the destination-focused traveler, I couldn't speak more highly of Windstar.
Thank you. I just want to ask you, did you make it on deck for sail away, and could you share that experience?
So the sail experience was really cool. The crew got together. They did two of them, or two similar presentations. There was one at the beginning of the cruise and one at the end of the cruise. There was the crews come out, the crew members come out, and they all have flags representing where they're from. They play a song and do kind of a choreographed routine, and then everybody claps and they break, and everybody's off to dinner. At night, the pool deck kind of turns into kind of a club environment. The onboard barbecue was excellent. We had everything from suckling pig, whole salmon, sushi. So there was a lot of great choices there. There was, you mentioned earlier the cultural events. Well, when we were at Pigeon Island, there was great beach barbecue. We had fantastic paella, great spread. The crew comes in, pours all of it onto the land, sets it all up, breaks it down. It's like they were never even there. So, and you're right there in the middle of where these destinations that you went to. So there at St. Lucia, I walked up to the top of Signal Hill and saw a colonial fort up there where they used to protect the harbor. And then I walked right back down to the beach barbecue. And then I went right over to the little ruins on the other side of the island. It was fantastic. And there's the little beach right there. The crew on board comes on the land. So it's almost the exact same service experience while you're on shore. And it's a shore stop with essentially a built-in shore excursion that Windstar's just providing for you. That's a high-end, top of the line experience.
That is awesome. So Albie, will you be escorting one of those luxury cruise connection groups that we talked about? Mediterranean, Grand Prix with Rome.
I would be more than happy.
Well, I'm sure there's some other folks that are on this call that are going to want to join you because you really painted a great picture, as did you, Steve, as well. So let's go, everyone. Let's all cruise together. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Carlos, are you in?
I'm in 100%. I wanna ask two more questions real quick that I have on the chat. One was from Susan. She wondered if when sailing through Japan, if you also source fresh sushi from Japan.
So I'm gonna answer this and I see that she also left, but so a little bit of a complicated answer. It is not something that we would standardly do. However, we also like to surprise and delight our guests. And our hotel director on the Legend, the last time we were in Japan, and quite possibly when we're back in Japan again, I just can't guarantee it, lives in Japan and has a lot of connections. And so he actually went on his own and arranged for sushi to be brought on board during the last season because he had the connections and he arranged that. I would expect that would be something that we would probably continue. It's just not something I can promise that is there, but I can tell you that is also very much a part of the Windstar experience, is that we love to surprise and delight. And depending on opportunities, if we see a unique opportunity, we're going to do it. A great example of that is just last week when I was on Star Legend. The itinerary did not, because of the ports of call and everything like that, we did not have a chance for the water sports platform to be down. And on the last day of the cruise, the captain decided that rather than dock, when we were supposed to dock, he anchored off of the city, and we used tenders to go ashore, but that allowed us to use the water sports platform. And he did that because a number of guests came up to him and said, we really wish we could use the water sports platform. So he figured out a way to make that happen. So similar to the sushi, Carlos, I can't promise it because it's not something that we normally do, but I can tell you that we always find a way to try to make something special for our guests.
Perfect. And then perks for frequent cruisers, and at what levels?
Yeah, there's various different levels, and much like the different cruise lines, there's associated things. There's discounts on Wi-Fi, discounts on drinks, and things like that, as sort of you move up the different tiers. So that there's a chart that Melissa can get to your travel advisors to actually shoot off to Frederick and help answer that question.
Well, I'd like to, Steve or Melissa, I have a guest who's looking for Tokyo and Seoul, South Korea. And do you guys go to, I know you go to Tokyo, but do you go to South Korea at all?
I think there's one cruise that, as it positions from Japan down to Australia, may pass through Korea. Melissa can maybe quickly try to see if she can find that.
Meli-
Our Japan cruises are typically 10 days round trip Japan. Really, really awesome itinerary, by the way, if you want to see Japan. But at the end of that season, that short season, if you will, I think there may be a stop in Korea on the way up and back.
Okay, Melissa, if you could get me that information, that'd be great.
I will, absolutely. Thanks, Stephen.
Excellent. Well, you know, we have taken a little bit more time than we should have from our guests, but we obviously didn't want to stop this amazing conversation and great opportunity to not only hear it from you guys who work for the brand, but from you know, Albie, who works. You know, Albie obviously is a professional travel advisor, but most importantly, just had an opportunity to experience the Windstar experience as a guest, and so to have that opportunity to share that with everybody else and you know, firsthand experience just makes a lot of difference. So I want to thank Albie for that, and I want to thank Steve and Alyssa very much for your time and the opportunity to, you know, spend some time with our people, with our guests, with our advisors, and get to have an opportunity to learn a lot more about Windstar. You know, I haven't had an opportunity to sail on Windstar myself. I know I would enjoy that experience very, very much so, because, you know, it just is the type of travel that I enjoy. And we have many clients that, you know, do business with us all the time, and they rely on us to advise them on the best travel experience for them. And I know many of them would absolutely enjoy this. You know, we don't have an opportunity to share so much time with you guys often. So before I let you go, I want to know if there's any other questions from the crowd, from our guests today. Anything else that, you know, if you want to unmute yourself or maybe ask, squeeze a little bit more knowledge out of Steve and Alyssa here, please do so now. This is when it's your opportunity. And remember, in the next couple of weeks, any reservation, any booking that we deposit through Luxury Cruise Connections and Windstar, not only is going to have an opportunity to take advantage of those special fares that we have, but also the extra $200 shipboard credit, especially for attendees and people that registered for today's event. You know, we like to do this specifically for new bookings because, of course, we want you to experience the brand. And if you've already experienced the brand, then we want to incentivize you to book another cruise with Windstar today in the next couple of days. We're here for you as Luxury Cruise Connections. I want you to know that, you know, if you haven't done business with us in the past, then it's a great opportunity to start. You know, we're all about service. We're all about your experience and making sure that we're here for you to advise you properly on your cruise and hold your hand throughout the entire experience, not just book you and off you go, but just be there for you with our complimentary concierge department to take care of every single question and detail to make sure that the experience is just perfect. You know, we whether you've done business with us in the past or not, we're here for you. If you have any questions, we're here for you. Just let us know how we can help. Let's see if maybe everybody is a little shy today, or maybe we just covered a lot.
They're just ready to book. They're just ready to get that book with you. Yeah.
So
site picking out their itinerary.
There you go. You can either reply to the email invitation that you got. We'll get it. We can, you know, we'll get back to you with advice. You can call us. You can, you know, if you have a direct contact, email your direct advisor. You can just go on our website and submit a form. Either way, we'll be there for you to make sure to get you all booked and squared away on your next Windstar cruise.
We're looking forward to seeing everyone on board.
Definitely so. And if you think of any other question after this presentation, feel free to ask. We'll, of course, get back to you. And so if that's all for today, I want to make sure to say goodbye to everybody and wish you all an amazing rest of the day, rest of the week, and hope to connect with you very, very soon. Steve and Melissa, thank you very, very much.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care, Melissa. Take care, Steve.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.